Hi. The reason that we have been reviewing Jerry Bergman's book, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the problem of mental illness, is not to persecute Jehovah's Witnesses. But many Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have had the experience of mental illness. So we want to discover what the source or the reasons for this to come upon people. For one of the sources that Bergman addresses that might be a factor for some witnesses is their childhood as a Jehovah's Witness. Here's what he says. An important factor which adversely affects the emotional adjustment of witness children is the prohibition against playing with non-witnesses. It is very difficult for a young child to understand the reasons witnesses give for avoiding persons their age. The explanation that they are worldly is understood by few 3-year-olds, and such an explanation often leads to other problems. Giving as a reason that they are bad or evil is even worse. The witness child, when discouraged from associating with other children, often sees himself as different, either better, special, or even abnormal. Whether the child's feelings from this isolation include ideas of being special and superior, or weird and inferior, the results are the same. The child grows up without developing many necessary social skills. When placed in contacts where he or she is unable to associate with other children, in school for example, he may lack the self-confidence and the ability to handle himself in social situations. This disadvantage may cause him to revert to a familiar way of coping, which is often to socially, and often physically as well, withdraw. Not allowed to play with other children, the child becomes used to being alone and isolated. This social isolation forces the child to learn to live in his or her own world. As a consequence, as he grows older, the child will become more and more socially handicapped. Even if he leaves the witnesses, the burden of the effects of this early social isolation will often be felt throughout life. Then he further says, a common pattern for a witness to be raised under very strict, rigid conditions, fully obeying the dictates of the Watchtower until the inner conflicts, resentments, aggressions, and frustrations force them to make a sudden break from the organization. What may seem simply a quick and drastic break from the witnesses and their standards is often the result of a situation where the witness has had emotional conflicts for years, unable to discuss them with anyone. Or if the witness attempts to, he is, not uncommonly, rebuffed, or finds that his discussions with other witnesses are not helpful, or, as most often happens, harmful. The witness harbors negative feelings, which may become more and more pronounced until some situation, which may itself be minor, causes a break of some sort. He or she then acts on a set of feelings which had been building up for some time. The person, unable to deal with the situation, finally can't take it any longer and reacts against his previous way of life. It is not uncommon to move to the other extreme and involve oneself in promiscuity, drugs, and other behavior which the typical witness sees as extremely unacceptable. Now, everyone has their own experiences in their childhood, and everyone has their own temperament, their own personal temperament. And because those differ, the consequences will be different for different people. The reactions will be different with different people. And the parenting skills are also something that varies from family to family. Not everyone who is raised in a Jehovah's Witness family has a miserable childhood. I didn't have a miserable childhood. Not all JWs grow up feeling superior or inferior. And not all Jehovah's Witnesses feel isolated. But these comments can be helpful in addressing your own situation. Some of this might apply to you. Not all children who spend a lot of time on their own grow up to be social misfits. There are benefits to a child having time alone, learning to engage his mind and entertain himself and occupy himself, to enjoy his own company. There are benefits to that. Balance is the key. You don't want them to have no association with other kids. Bergman also identifies later in the book another reaction that some children will have to a rigid family, a very strict family life. He goes, parents that largely ignore their children when they are quiet, good, and behaving, but give them a great deal of attention, negative attention, true, but still attention, when they are misbehaving. Witness parents often inadvertently reward misbehavior, teaching the child that he or she can satisfy self-esteem needs through misbehavior and punishment. Many of us, if we are not able to achieve our ego needs through positive behavior, will resort to its opposite. Then at least some of our needs will be fulfilled. And as ego needs are extremely powerful, most humans will resort to even deviant behavior in order to fulfill them. Children need attention from their parents. They need their time. So it could be that a child is made to feel that he's competing with Watchtower duties in a family where witness activity and duties is of prime concern. The child may feel it's more important than him or her. Some ex-witnesses describe their life as a life of moral rules when they were Jehovah's Witnesses. But here I think parenting traits or skills differ so much that how you instruct sometimes makes the difference of whether or not it causes a problem. What is your manner? Are you ordering this rule has to be followed, or are you compassionate and understanding when you explain things to children as to what is acceptable behavior? I really appreciate that my parents cared enough about me that they gave me biblical instruction and counsel. I don't think we should be quick to toss out good counsel that generations of our foreparents have accepted and used, biblical instruction. For example, the Proverbs are full of instruction of how to teach your children. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it." Children need guidance, and they need help on their path to life, how to find the way to live. And that should be what parents give them. Proverbs 29:17 says, "Correct your son, and he will give you rest. Yes, he will give delight to your soul." Correction. Children need correction. They can't be just left to figure things out all by themselves. they need help. They need to be given limits and boundaries and disciplines in their life so that they will be more successful in their life. And that also shows that you care enough that you would give them correction, even though it's not the happiest of moments when you have to do that. Parents also need instruction. Parenting can be done badly. At least 2 epistles instruct fathers not to provoke their children. Ephesians 6:4 reads, "You fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord." Excuse me. So, training is necessary. You need to be giving them admonition. You need to be giving them guidance. This will help them. But if it's just do this and there's no explanation and no understanding, you would maybe provoke them to wrath, to anger. Colossians 3:21 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged." Again, be watching how your children react to things, and then give them the kind of attention they need. If it be understanding, caring, you can do that when you're training children. You don't have to, you're a parent, you're not a bully. No parents, though, are perfect, and no children are perfect. So we can learn from the regrets that we have as parents and as children and move forward. But being aware of this helps, I would say. I'm going to link you to 2 videos I did early in doing videos on parenting. So the first one is why we homeschooled our son Max and the curriculum of Scripture being used, the core curriculum. And the second one on parenting is making sure your children hear the whole counsel of God. So I'll link those at the end. Till the next time.